All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get going. Okay, last night we saw our first real correction on U.S. equity markets. And maybe even close to a month. I think we've had about 15 plus sessions, close to 20 sessions in a row where we've really just kind of either pushed hard to the upside or consolidated on gains. And last night was the first night we got some sort of correction, down pretty much 0.75% across indexes. So, still probably the what you would say is healthy correction for the bulls, but a correction nonetheless. Nothing really that I think was a real catalyst. But I think we're due for a little bit of a correction. Market's been very overbought technically for a while. In Asia, we saw Asia kind of follow a U.S. market action lower. We did have the Nikkei that was closed overnight, so you can ignore that up move there. All the other markets were down across the board, but modestly as well. The Australian market down less than 0.5%. Hang Seng actually did get down almost 2% of the day, but not not too dramatic on the sell-off there either. We have the Japanese yen that you can see that really corrected back down toward the 104 level against the US dollar, obviously on the back of some profit taking there and maybe just taking a little bit of risk off of the table. We've got no corporate action to speak of today. We do have a few different stocks that are going ex-div over the weekend on Monday, and that's Alevo, that's PPC, and that is Tiger Brands. So reasonably big divvy out of Tiger Brands there. So those might be worth paying attention to. Trade action there today, but just don't forget about it over the weekend. All right, we've got market data today. We had Chinese non-manufacturing numbers, which came in a little bit, or PMI numbers, which came in a little bit lower than expectations. We have CPI, European or Spanish EU harmonized year-on-year CPI numbers that are out at 10. We've got PMI construction numbers out of the UK. We've got mortgage apps out of the UK. We've also got CPI numbers out of Italy, and then we've got Bernanke speaking at an economic conference in the States later this evening. So nothing really significant, I don't think, to speak of. We have had PMI data kind of across the world that's been coming out the last few days, and I think really just going to give us a nice gauge of where the global economy is at. One thing that I can say is what we've seen so far has been, I think, quite solid. For the most part, we've had the US ISM numbers that have literally expanded every single month for I think 7 months in a row. The numbers get better and better and better, so that's a very positive sign. A lot of economists out there saying the US is going to hit their stride this year, and I think that's somewhat priced in the market, so we're going to have to start to see some follow through now, I think, to continue to give us next leg up in the equity market. All right, let's jump into the maps. Okay, first thing that I wanted to have a look at is a look at the S&P. Reason why I wanted to show this, I was showing this to some of the guys yesterday. I didn't do the morning call yesterday, but you can see we came back on this consolidation that we saw in the S&P. You can see that we had a little call it 45-50 point channel here, which put our target up here to 1850, which is basically exactly what we did. We came up and hit, I think it traded at 1849 on the S&P, and really that's kind of the short-term technical target on the breakout here. We have been in without doubt in an uptrend here. We'll look at the 2-year chart there, and you can really see how consistent the uptrend's been in. So all we're really looking for still is maybe a pullback to some sort of trend line. We've really just stayed so nicely in this channel, and really we've seen a lot of stocks that are also starting to look a lot like this. But bottom line is, in the 1 year here, you've seen us reach a the target on the breakout there above the 1808 level, and we'll just look for some sort of modest correction, maybe back to oversold levels, or maybe back here to support around 1808 before maybe looking to start to put on risk. So I think we started to see a little bit of that follow through coming into our market and maybe some of the global markets last night. All right, let's look at the Rand here. I mean, we got another breakdown in the Rand, kind of a little mini. If we shorten this up, I'll just look at the 30-day real quick, 30-minute, and you can see there we go. A little mini breakout that we had here, kind of around 1050, 1055. You can see how we just kind of were bottoming around the 1030 level that entire time. That's over about the past 20 days or so. It's really going to put our target up around, call it 1080. And I think we got up to 1070 overnight last night. I think that also lines up reasonably nicely with let's draw this from the close, because the wicks are just so freaking dramatic here. It'll line up nicely with where we're looking at in this kind of trend range that we've seen over the last little while. So I think 1080 I would put as the target, somewhere between 1075 and 1080 on the ZAR over the next few sessions. And I don't think anything's going to change unless we see a huge rally in precious metals or commodities, or something changes here politically. I think it's just going to be really hard to stem the sell-off in the Rand over the next little while. So just keep that in mind. We may continue to go weaker and weaker there. All right, first Rand. I remember we talked about this one kind of on the retest of where we really broke out, which was right here around the 33 level. We came down. We gave it up this one day on this really dramatic close. I remember we closed down about 40 or 50 cents this day, but other than that, we really hardly had any closes below this level. Really significant here that we came back and tested support. The way that this pattern kind of shapes out, to me, it's looking a little bit more like a continuation pattern than anything. And we're coming up to test the all-time highs and the recent highs there around 36, or just north of 36. So I think if we're able to punch through that, in my mind, that's a quick move to 39, to the 39.40 range, somewhere in there. So just watch that one. Keep your eye on that. If we do manage to get above that, we've got some of the other banks that have really broken out. Standard Bank's broken out to new highs. I think this is obviously one of the household favorites. So just keep that in mind. We get above 36 and first Rand on the closing basis. This thing could have legs. All right, next one we're going to look at here is CFR. CFR, we've talked about this 50,000 times, it feels like. Testing this level, it just never quite breaks out. We finally got a breakout there yesterday, albeit on low volume and with Switzerland closed. So that's going to be a big tester today. Switzerland's going to be open today, so we're going to see that stock trade and dual listing there, see if this thing can continue its momentum. But this is a beautiful breakout here. It's a wonderful pattern. What I'd like to see happen, to give me some confirmation on this, simply because Switzerland was closed yesterday, is maybe for this to come back, retrace, kind of fill the gap, trade around this 105 level, be able to hold it for a day or two, and then make its next move higher, would make me feel pretty good here. So I'm going to kind of watch this one. I'm not going to buy this breakout, simply because, like I said, it happened on Switzerland being closed yesterday on really light volume, and I'd like to see it be able to hold up. And obviously, we were expecting most of the stocks to up and down this morning due to market conditions. So, all right, MTN. We'll have a look at. I can't remember if Stevie showed this one the other day. I hadn't been here, but this one we had a real definitive range, I think, going here. Kind of call it between 190 and 204, which put our target up here 204. I don't know where that is. 189 to 204. The target that I kind of came up with, looking at that more closely on that breaking out of that range, was up here at 219. We actually even wicked up to 220, but the highest close that we had, I think, was yesterday's close, actually 217. Bottom line is, this thing has came up, it's tested the target on the breakout. We had a huge breakout here. It is a defensive. In my opinion, the way that the market's going to shape up this year, I think defensives aren't going to trade as well as they have in the past couple years, and I think that we may start to see cyclicals outperform a little bit. We're kind of in that point in the business cycle right now where you'd expect that to happen. So that's kind of what I'm going with. And so maybe not a bad idea to fade some of these MTN up here around the 218.50, 219 level if they get back up here this morning. I had trouble getting back above there again yesterday. I would expect us to maybe come back and retest this sort of 205 level. All right, and the last one I want to show is Bidvest. Bidvest also making a bit of a continuation pattern here. It's really kind of been in a range for, going back a long way, but you're starting to see the uptrend dissipate a little bit. The moves aren't quite as sharp, or the trend not as quite as sharp up as it was in mid-year. We've seen a lot more consolidation, and I think that to get a little breakout here above the 272 level, call it, would take us up to new highs, and would be I think a huge breakout on this continuation pattern, which would be a target all the way up to as high as 290, maybe 292 rand, 294 rand in fact. So just keep that in mind. It could be a big target on Bidvest if we break through here at the 272 level. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.